album kicks ass, dude. I'm ready for it to be out. Dude, I want the world to hear the rest of this record because.
Me too.
Oh man, right now, Wilting is doing so well at radio, especially with Octane, XM. Like I think it's on Liquid Metal too, dude. Like fans fucking love the music so far, and they have with everything. But I mean, when you're at this point, we're about a month out. How antsy are you, and are you any more eager than you normally would? Because this is the first record really during or post during the pandemic. So I mean, fans need it so bad, man.
Yeah, honestly, like this time it feels like I don't want to say more pressure. It just like it feels more special, just because I think with the fact that we finished the record more than a year ago. Right before the pandemic, and then there was a matter of like waiting and not knowing what the plan was going to be. And I'm glad we waited because like for a little bit we were thinking like, well, let's still put it out. This was last year, right? It's like we were thinking about doing it before Christmas, and then we said like, well, beginning of the year, and then I think like right now it's good timing, hoping that everything is going to go, like we hope with the vaccines and all this stuff, and being able to play shows again soon.
Yes.
And I think in the end it feels like a good timing, and so far the response has been amazing.
Yeah, I was going to ask if the record, because like a lot of bands, like it's hit and miss. Like some bands took 2020 as a creative year, so they weren't going to tour to begin with. They were just going to write, but then the record got done and they wanted to release it and they could, and they're like, no, it was always going to come out in 21. We just got lucky, So I was going to ask how that worked out for you. Was last year going to be a creative year? Because I mean, Revival came out in 2018 and you toured on that like crazy. So I would think that 2020 was going to be a creative year. It just turn into a longer one, I guess.
Yeah, no, for us, honestly, like the plan. We were gonna we wanted to be done with the record by end of February last year.
Okay.
Because of starting March, we had like a bunch of tours. The first tour was the Killswitch tour. Yeah. And then we had so many things planned for the year, and that was gonna be by far our best year ever in terms of tours, in terms of like because the band has been there's been a growth. Just surprising to see like things kept getting better and so it's kind of weird because, you would think like, okay, once you have something like a pandemic, that'll be the best time to just stay home and write music. But for me, honestly, since I'm the one who writes music, I was so spent. I was just done. I can't, and it's common. Like usually after I finish a record, I kind of need a few months of just doing other things, like possibly touring, and then, just stop thinking about the record. And so, like, for me, it was just not a thing just to think about, like, oh, I'm going to start writing the next record to me. And also, like, for me, it's really important to see how a record does in order to start, write the next record. Yeah. Because I kind of, like, and I think, like, part of why we feel this record is a strong record, it was stronger than before, is because I think we also understood more our crowd, more and more that we play and then we see reaction. The more we feel like, okay, we want this next record to be a certain way.
So did that make the first record, I mean, back when it was when you guys came together, did that make the first record too, like, harder to write? Because like you said, you go off the crowd and like nobody knew how it was really going to go. Well,
honestly, you asked about Devil, like in the beginning? Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. At that time, like the first record was so weird because like it started all with the drummer and I having demos and then showing it to Howard and him being interested, and then all of a sudden we have labels being interested, and then managers and talking to us, and all of a sudden, it's Howard's comeback. So everybody kind of had their thing that they had to say, like, oh, this record should be like this record should be like that, and we were like, but we want to do what we want to do. Yeah. And so it kind of got, I don't know, I think like there was so much expectation and pressure from everybody, really. Right. That just made it for us being in the studio. And then even the producers, how like, they wanted it would be like everybody kind of wanted to make it like this is how we would want the record to sound like.
Right.
So it was kind of annoying, very annoying. And then so with the second record, we actually said, okay, in order for us to do a second record, like nobody's involved.
Yeah.
Like we do what we do, and it's like we just and that's when we did the the second Devil record. But at that time, we actually started having issues inside between band members and all that. So it was also not a very good good vibe.
Right.
And honestly, and then when we changed name, and it's not just to me, I don't see it as a change name. It's a new band, even though Howard and Ryan are like the three of us who were still in the band. It did feel like we're starting a new band. It's like it's like a new sound and things that we've been talking about for a while, and I think they were not going to be a possibility with our previous drummer.
Mm-hmm.
And so and so once again it started like a new fresh thing where we didn't really know like we're writing material that we feel like it's more accessible, more quote unquote commercial, but I mean we don't know like how people gonna respond to it, and actually like the response was way better than what we thought it was like. And I think like that's why since then it's kind of like the vibe has changed, and we've been in such a better mood and just like just feeling good about what we do.
Yeah,
finally.
Which is awesome because there's so much emotion on this record. Like it's more emotion driven than Revival was. I feel like, which I was going to ask if it was written during COVID because it's so you guys get dark. In a couple areas, and it's so just the emotion in Howard's voice and the lyrics and all that. It's so much heavier, but it's really interesting that it was written basically. That's really cool.
Well, yeah, it was for me. It was actually a really dark time because of a few years ago I was in a car accident, and that car accident really messed my back up in a way that I was like, so. I was like doing, just like seeing a bunch of doctors, physical therapy, seeing chiropractors, acupuncturists, doing cryotherapy. Then I started with spine injections. It was really bad. It was like to the point that I just, it was hard to walk some days.
That had to make touring hard. I mean,
the touring was, I mean, like really, really tough. Like also because a month after the accident, we had like a 3-month run, so 3 tours back to back.
Wow!
And at that point, for me, it was just like, okay, in order to do this, I'm just gonna be on meds constantly, and that's how it was. And so, as you can imagine, it's also not very healthy for your body and mentally to just be on meds.
Oh no, that messes you up. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was a really like that whole first part of. I think at this point, it was 2019, was really tough for me. And then finally, when we started having breaks in between tours, that's when I did the majority of the writing for this record. And so for me, it was a really dark time. I wasn't, even mentally, I was just not in a good place. Like, meaning, like, music became really, like, the one thing that I can do so I don't think about other things, So it was definitely my escape.
Yeah.
And so there was like a lot of that. I think like in the end, like, I mean, there's often is being said that, especially for artists and people being creative, like tough times bring out like just deeper emotions. Right. And I think like in this case was a lot of this and obviously being on tour a lot in between the times where I was writing, obviously with, Howard and Ryan and like, our, drummer and crew and everybody always helping me. But, just like being kind of part of it. And then Howard, the fact that when he comes here, he stays at my place, right?
Nice.
And we do, when we work on music, when we do like pre-production and when we track an album. So for us, it's like, that's also, it's like it's got like a more like special kind of a time together.
It's like therapy.
And I think, what's that?
It's like therapy almost. It's like it's sort of therapeutic.
Yeah, very. And I think like already when we started with the first week of pre-production, Howard was telling me like how he felt like the music. I mean, he had already written a bunch of lyrics because, you know, obviously when I write music, I just send to the guys.
Right.
And Howard writes a bunch. So just naturally it came out to be, you know, heavier, I think like deeper and, just a deeper and heavier in a way, like heavier probably people would think like, you know, just heavier riffs, but it's not the case. I think it's just in terms of amount of emotion. There's like just there's a lot more impact.
Well, there's two types of heavy though, man. There's like you said, there's musically heavy and aggressive, and you know, but you could have a ballad even be one of the heaviest songs you write. You know, there's lyrically and thematically heavy. You know, I mean, dude, just look at the song titles on this record, and you know you know what you're getting into thematically and just, you know, energy-wise. It's going to get dark, but that's what I love about metal is sometimes, like, the darkest songs help you through, like, the hardest times. Actually can make you feel better about what you're going through at the moment.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
You know, so coming out of COVID with where we're at right now, I feel like this is the record that the fans need because it's ironic that it's releasing when it is because we're just on the verge of touring again. It looks like we're so close. We can feel it. We can taste it. We can smell it. We can see it. It's like right there. And now we have new music. So, you know, so I mean, it's awesome. I wanted to ask, like, the decision to bring Josh and Joseph again to help produce the record. Was that a conscious decision that you guys wanted to do, or was it like, you know what, it worked really well last time, let's just do it again, you know?
Yeah, it was like that because, like, we all individually with our previous bands and projects, we have experienced different producers and, you know, different engineers.
Sure.
And once you find, like, a combo that it feels really good, you know, I think it's kind of like, and then we also thought, okay, like this time we have even more than before, like a precise idea of what we want from this record. Yep. So having two guys like them, where it really, like, to me, it's very important that you don't have a producer with an ego. For me, like, I've experienced that. And when you do that, it's kind of like it becomes like the producer wanting to make the record sound a certain way, and it's like not understanding that in the end you are the band, you are the people who will keep working with this product, right? That person, that producer, once it's done with the record, done, right?
Yep.
And then for us, we might have to play some of the songs for the rest of our career.
Exactly.
It really means So I think, like, first of all, like, having a guy like Josh who's been in bands forever and tour forever, he understands that aspect, and that's very important. He's also, you know, he's not going to be like the producer bringing, like, having ideas like, hey, Howard, try to hit this insane note that you'll never be able to do live.
Right.
You know, which happens with other producers.
Yeah.
And I think, like, they respect us as a band, and we respect them as producer and engineer. And I think it just worked so well the first time around that it really felt like easy. And also, like, it's also a matter of, you know, just being practical. For example, like the fact that the studio is 15 minutes from my house.
Oh, perfect.
And then some people will be like, well, but that's not really important. It is, because the mood that we are, like being around at this point, like friends, and with Joe and Josh, and then being like in a place that is like feels like home, and then being able to drive back to your house and relax and have a good time with your bodies, like that's so important for, like, to bring the right mood in the studio. There's nothing like being in a weird mood while you're trying to be creative.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's one thing fans don't always think about is a producer. Like, a lot of fans don't realize what a producer actually does and how much that can influence, like, the way the record and the songs turn out. Because I mean, they really can mold the way the song sounds. And if that song ends up being a hit and like your biggest song ever, and it's not the way you wanted it to turn out, like you said, you got to play that for the rest of your career. And if it's not the way you wanted it to go, like this is your art. You wrote this, you put it together. And if someone's altering your art in a way that doesn't work for you, and then the fans latch on and want to hear it every night, like you're reliving that every night on stage. You're like, it's a good song, but like, this is not the way I wanted this to sound, you know? And so
we have songs from the past where it doesn't feel like it's really us in a way. And then I think more and more, especially like Howard and I kind of have like a precise idea in a way that I feel like we don't need the type of producer. I mean, I hear stories all the time of like from the producers of bands showing up with like a few riffs and some lyrics, and then basically expecting the producer to put together an album.
Right.
And then for us, it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
We show up like the demos that I prepare are like as polished as they can be in terms of like every single layer, everything, you know, with program drums, like already like, you know, done in a certain way. And then Howard brings so many lyrics. And then, so it's literally like, it's important that we are all on the same page with producers. They understand what these, you know, the songs are supposed to sound like as a final product. And so it's important that they're not producers who are trying to change the songs, you know?
Yeah, exactly. The producer is one of the most important parts of the record because, I mean, they influence how it turns. I mean, some bands like the record fans hate the most wasn't supposed to turn out the way. The producer just messed it up, you know, and got way too involved and had a vision that wasn't the way it was going to go. So, I mean, that's one thing that's super important, man. But bringing Alex in, you know, to fill in for drums for this record, how important was that decision? And was Alex, how did you guys get involved with him and come up with him, and why was he the perfect decision for this?
Well, so I've been a fan of Alex playing for the longest time. Him and I actually, years ago, we worked on one of those side projects with people from other bands and stuff like that. Yeah. And I remember, like, this is many years ago. I was still in Northfield Parish, and I remember hearing his drumming, and then right away it was like, and at that time he was like so young, but it was already unbelievable. So I've been kind of following him since then. And a few years ago, I hit him up, and because of our life situation, right? To have but he was too busy with. You already had the whole year planned touring. Yeah, and so when we got to a point where when we were looking for, you know, for me, the name number one that I was talking about, like I would want to have him play on the record, because it's one of those things, like drums, like for me, it is one of the most important elements on the record. It is both live and on the record. It's even when you're playing, like, I mean, Alex obviously is known to do crazy stuff. Being able to play some of the hardest, you know, drum parts that you can possibly imagine. But obviously we don't have that. But there's like this extra, like, I don't know, like that a level of finesse that is brought by somebody with those kind of skills, right? And then also already from the stuff that he does, like you could tell the musicality that he has, like his playing brings. And then so for me, because like obviously with like I was saying, like the demos that I work on are basically like finished products. There's some songs that sound exactly like, you know, the same. There's nothing gets changed. The drums, I work a lot on, and then also with producers once we bring we start working on with the demos. But like we try to already have drums that you know, that's how they should be as a final, you know, on the final recording. But having a guy like Alex come in, and then obviously, like I'm saying, like being so like musically talented, and so like obviously the majority, like the grooves are there, and they're to stay. So, and he understands that. He's not the guy who's like shows up and like, well, but I can do this, and it's not really the intention that you want to have with that part, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like common working with drummers where, I mean, it happened to me many times where the drummer is trying to do what sounds good for him, basically, more than like think about a song. And this is just a band about the songs, you know. That's why even the guitar parts sometimes are like super simple, just because it's not a matter of like I write the riffs, I want the riffs to shine in every part, you know. Sometimes something else needs to shine, and so I think like a guy like Alex was just perfect, was absolutely perfect. It was like the whole experience, like when we started talking and sending him tracks, and then him like the amount of like precision of just like notes and just being so prepared with everything, and just I love it because I'm that way. I'm so, you know, just obsessed with every detail of like what I do, and so like having somebody who's like felt, you know, he speaks my language. So first of all, I love that, and even the producers were just mesmerized by this guy. And once he came in to record, it was like unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. The guy is insane. And so I could not be happier with the drums on the record.
Speaking of insane, dude, the Sign Your Name cover. Come on, man. How much fun was it? How much fun was that song to record? I mean, that song is, dude, you killed it, man. And just watching Howard sing that song too, man. Like that have been fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and. We just, again, one of those nights after, that was during the first week of pre-production. Howard was staying here. I was in the evening. I was making food for my wife and Howard. My wife put on like a 80s playlist on Spotify, something like that. And then I heard a song. And then right away in my head, you know, I was just like, holy shit, this could be like a cover that we do. And then I looked at Howard, like, would you be down? And he told me, like, dude, I love this cover, but I mean, are you sure? It's like, listen to the lyrics. This could be like pushing a little, you know, much. And I was like, I'm confident that I can arrange it in a very cool way. And the way I'm seeing it is like everything, like the chorus will be powerful, you know, with a big voice and like all that. And then we kept it till the end. That was like the last thing that we had, you know, to record. And then finally when like Howard started singing over it, I was like, holy shit. I mean, it really, that's exactly how I had it in my head.
Nice.
Pretty much. And I was so stoked because I literally love that cover. I love the song, sorry.
Right.
I love the song. I remember like years and years and years ago when that song was like played everywhere.
Yeah.
I always thought that song was so cool, and actually like going with it, because when I do something like that and I rearrange, you know, the parts, and I basically kind of like analyze everything that it was doing. And actually, it's one of those songs that it's a simple song, but there's actually so much like it's a very clever, well put together song, even harmonically.
Yeah.
And that's to me that's also like what it felt like. That could be like a very cool thing to do.